I never thought my mom's funeral would be the night everything I believed about my family fell apart. I was standing beside her casket, running on pure exhaustion, when I noticed a man lingering near the back of the chapel. He didn't speak to anyone. He just stood there wringing his hands, eyes darting toward the floor and then back to me. Something about him felt familiar in a way that made my stomach twist. Then it hit me. It was my father, the man who disappeared without a word when I was 10. My chest tightened so fast I thought I might pass out. I hadn't seen him in over a decade. I'd spent years convincing myself I didn't care, that I'd moved on. But there he was, older, thinner, and somehow exactly the same. My aunt noticed him too, her lips pressed into a thin line, anger flashing across her face. But instead of saying anything, she squeezed my shoulder and whispered, "It's your choice." That was somehow worse. Every memory rushed back at once. Him lifting me onto the kitchen counter, braiding my hair before school. The last night I heard my parents screaming down the hallway while I hid under my blankets. I stood there frozen, torn between wanting answers and wanting him gone. Eventually, I forced myself to move. Each step toward him felt heavier than the last, like I was walking through wet cement. The church lights flickered softly above us, and for a moment, it felt like the world had narrowed down to just the two of us. He looked up when I stopped in front of him. His eyes filled instantly. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice barely holding together. "I should have come sooner." I swallowed hard. "Why now?" I whispered. He pulled something from his pocket, a faded photograph of the three of us at the beach when I was 6. I noticed the date scribbled on the back. It was the day after my mom found out she was sick. That's when everything shifted. He told me he hadn't left because he didn't care. He left because he was falling apart. Addiction, debt, choices he was ashamed of. He said my mom begged him not to come back unless he was clean. She didn't want me growing up watching him self-destruct. I didn't know how to process that. What hurt even more was what came next. He said he tried to come back, tried to write, tried to call, tried to get help, and my mom never told me. He handed me a crumpled envelope. Inside were letters I was never meant to see. Birthday wishes, apologies, tiny drawings he'd made every year he was gone. Proof that even in absence, he'd been thinking about me. I broke down harder than I had all week. I couldn't forgive him, but I couldn't hate him either. After the service ended and everyone else left, we sat side by side in the empty chapel. No yelling, no explanations left to give, just the sound of rain tapping against the stained glass, and two people grieving the same woman in very different ways. Nothing was resolved that night, but I realized the story I'd grown up with wasn't a lie. It was just incomplete. As we walked out together, I clutched that envelope like it was fragile proof that even the deepest wounds might not be beyond understanding. It wasn't closure, but it was the first time in years that I felt like I could finally breathe.